Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today I wanted to talk about the changes coming to healing in New World with the Seasons patch. So if you guys don't know, the Seasons update for New World is going to arrive in the game on the 28th of March, and with it is going to come some pretty extensive changes to a lot of different aspects of New World. Now, there's not really that much that's directly affecting healing, but there's a lot of things that they're changing that are going to affect healing as like a result. So the first thing that I want to talk about is Fortifying Sacred Ground. Amazon are making a change to the game where on the PTR and subsequently when it comes to live, Fortifying Sacred Ground is going to like disappear when you weapon swap away. Now you can see in the footage that we have here, I have the perk on my gloves, and when I cast Sacred Ground, if I step into it without the life staff in my hand, I simply don't get the Fortifying Sacred Ground perk. In order to actually get the perk to activate, you have to have the life staff in your hand. Now this is kind of strange because previously it used to be that if you have the perk on the life staff and then you switch away from the life staff, you lose Fortifying Sacred Ground. But now it's just the case that even if you have the perk on your armor, it still disappears, which is a bit of a head scratcher to me. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as to why they would do this, because the perk should remain static with it being on your armor. But regardless, one thing to bear in mind now is when you guys do a Sacred Ground, you're going to have to switch back to your life staff. If you are switching to another weapon, you're going to have to switch back once, probably every like 5 seconds, to keep refreshing the effect. So this is going to have a direct impact to those of you who like to play a lot with another weapon. I know it's pretty popular now where you put all of your AoE heals down on the ground. So you go Sacred Ground, Orb, and then Beacon, which I don't currently have equipped. And then you would switch over to the Void Blade or something and just, you know, start getting in there. Now you're going to have to remember to keep switching back to the life staff to reapply Sacred Ground every 5 seconds. Because of this change, I am debating that it might be worth just getting Sacred Ground on the life staff. Since you're going to have to keep switching back to it anyway to refresh it, it does seem that Sacred Ground would be like probably one of the best perks to get on the life staff. While we're on that topic, another new life staff is coming into the game. It's called the Cleric's Walking Staff. You'll be able to see it on the screen here. You can get this from the new dungeon, the Empyrean Forge, and previously I would have said this is a Bastion slot life staff. This is the same as a life staff that I currently use in the live version of the game. However, I am potentially seeing myself shift away from this for a similar reason that we just talked about, where maybe we want to get Sacred Ground on the life staff now instead, but also I think Orb in general is going to be like less useful. Right now, with the way Orb of Protection works on the live version of the game is when you splash it into your teammates, you give them a 10% Fortify, so you give them effectively what is a 10% damage reduction. If you look at the clip that we're hopefully playing on the screen here, when this goat comes up and attacks me, you can see that when I have the Fortify inactive and then when I have the Fortify active, I'm getting like a lower damage number. I think it was 387, and then the number goes down by 10%. Whereas if I replay the same scenario with like minimal constitution and no armor on the PTR, which again will be coming to live, it doesn't actually give me any damage reduction at all. Now, what is going on here exactly? They're making a change where Fortify effectively, it's not a damage reduction. Instead, what it does is it increases your armor by that percentage in a roundabout way. That, you know, we're going to use some like Baggins explainers here, so everything isn't going to be perfect, but it should be accurate enough that you guys will get an idea of what's going on. So once again, when you apply a Fortify, right now on the live version of the game, when I do Orb, I take 10% less damage because I have a 10% Fortify. Now when I apply Orb, I get 10% extra armor, so my armor is increasing by 10%. You can actually see this actively happening here on the screen where we have 737 physical armor, 693 elemental armor, and then if I hit myself with the Orb, my armor goes up by the amount that the Fortify provides. Now, it's very common in the current version of the game for everybody to be in light armor. When I'm healing expeditions, other than the tank, also in PvP as well, pretty much everybody's wearing a light equip load. So if this meta is going to continue into the future, Orb becomes much less valuable because you can see it's not a 10% damage reduction. I think it ends up being like a 2 or 3% damage reduction, which quite frankly is pitiful. So what I propose we might see in the future is a shift away from using Orb of Protection, sadly, and instead we're going to see, you know, just Beacon being used. So if we're going for the all AoE healing build, it might even be as crazy, you know, that we drop Orb and we go Splash of Light instead with Beacon over here. and that is if this, you know, everybody stacks together meta is going to continue. But I think what most likely we're going to see is something like this, where we take Sacred Ground, we take Divine Embrace, and we take Beacon. And then because of this, the most likely perks that we're going to see used on the Life Staff is either going to be the perk for the cooldown reduction of Divine Embrace, so the refreshing Divine Embrace, aka the glowing Life Crystal Staff, or we craft ourselves a bespoke Life Staff with Blessed, Fortifying Sacred Ground, and Refreshing Move. One thing that makes it very likely that we're going to shift to this meta as well is because we're going to see more ranges and more individuals playing. So right now, again, in the current version of the game, all of the melee kind of stack up on top of enemies we're talking about in an expedition environment, like doing M10s. But in the future, if we see more Fire Staff or maybe more bow, more people with ranged weapons standing off to the side, a single target heal is going to be more important because everybody's not going to be clumped up together all the time. Now, going back to the topic of like this light, medium, and heavy, you might be asking, well, Baggins, if light armor and Fortify is just not going to affect it whatsoever, should we consider going to medium, or should we consider even going to heavy as a healer? And my answer is no. I can almost guarantee that healing is still going to be done in a light equip load. You know, the healing bonuses that you get from being in light are too much to give up. You know, you get a 30% extra outgoing healing when you're in light, 0 when you're in medium, and minus 30 in heavy. I just think that 30% is going to be too much to give up, so most likely you are still going to be healing in light armor, so I wouldn't encourage you guys to go and get yourself decked out with a medium equip load yet, with the exception of maybe some small-scale PvP, potentially 3v3 arena. There could be some like synergy where you stack Fortify there to get some damage reduction, but for most of you, I think light equip load is still going to be the way to go for healing. When it comes to secondary weapon choice, I still believe Void Gauntlet is going to be one of the most popular options that we see people use. Again, talking about like a PvE or a M10 healing scenario. The reason behind that is Weaken is going to become even more important because Fortify doesn't reduce as much damage as it once did. The more important aspect is going to be weakening the enemies instead. And you can see Oblivion here, which is a very common Void Gauntlet ability that we use, does have a 15% weaken. On top of that, you also get some pretty nice Fortify with a Void Blade. It gives you a 20% Fortify when it's active, and you can get another up to 30% Fortify from Sacred Ground, so 50% Fortify in total with Void Blade and Scream. Obviously, still weaker than it once was, but it's going to be powerful. And then on top of that, Void Gauntlet just has all the benefits that it provides. Stamina, it's got some extra healing, it gives you mana on the right click. There's just a lot of reasons why I think Void Gauntlet is still going to be the king of secondary weapon choice when it comes to healing PvE. The last thing that I want to talk about that some people might be worrying is affecting healers is the nerf to refreshing move. So you can see they added in this 0.2 second cooldown to refreshing move here. Now, thankfully, this doesn't impact healers whatsoever because it's basically impossible to get 2 attacks in a 0.2 second. You know, on a single target like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just not going to have an impact. So yeah, for those of you worried, am I going to have to drop the refreshing move and get some other perk because refreshing move got nerfed? No, thankfully, it's still very, very good for single target, which is basically, that's what the Life Staff does. It is going to impact the people that you're healing. As a result, again, we might see less hatchets, less greatsword, less melee in general because they can't cleave multiple things and lower their cooldowns dramatically. Also, our tanks aren't going to be able to lower their cooldowns quite as effectively because it's very common to see tanks running refreshing move on their sword. So you might, again, be more expected to run a single target heal to keep that tank alive. Because they're not going to have the cooldowns flowing as frequently as they once did. All in all, I think these are the biggest changes that are coming to healing so far that I can think of. If there is any further changes on the PTR or any other thoughts occur in my brain or anything that you guys think I might have missed on, let me know in the comments down below. I think healing is going to remain relatively the same, but we're going to see less of the AoE healing, the Sacred Ground, the Orb, the Beacon. I'm expecting Orb might potentially see a shift out of the meta because just the Fortify isn't going to provide enough unless your whole team is going to be in heavy going forward. And of course, because we're seeing the buff to range weapons where they do extra damage with Corrupted Bane, Angry Earth Bane, they get 10% extra damage, we might see more ranges, and as a result, we might need a single target heal. So yeah, Divine Embrace probably coming back in. I mean, it never really left in my opinion. We're still definitely going to be healing in a light equip load, and Fortifying Sacred Ground might be a consideration to have on your Life Staff since they made the weird change where it disappears even if it's in your armor. Okay, that is it for today's video, guys. As always, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.